Good morning, everyone. This is Judith A. Cope. You're listening to Mad Love. Let's get into it. So this week will be a brief week of podcasts. Obviously, I took yesterday off. It was a holiday, so I took the holiday too. And believe it or not, as much as I love doing a podcast, it does require some effort. And so, it's nice sometimes to just not have to worry about assembling this thing every morning and making sure that, it sounds good, that I have something decent to talk about. And this week I have a lot of things that I have to get put into place. So there will probably be 2 or 3 shows and that's it. But guys, there's a whole catalog. If you just have to hear my voice, you can go back and listen to your choice of like 2,000 episodes. And listen to them while I still have them up, because I have a feeling I'm going to take some of them down. Just because, it's too many years out there. I started this in 2017. It is now 2026. That's a lot of shows. So anyway, basically this whole weekend has been relaxing. I think the best thing you can do is not watch the news. When you go to the store, you'll see the prices are high. When you go put gas in your car, you'll see gas prices are pretty high. And the only way to really weather this storm is to just go through it. But I don't think we're going to have the luxury of just hunkering down and hoping for the best. I think at some point something is going to be revealed to us that we can't turn away from. Obviously, the Epstein files have been a huge eye-opener for a lot of people. But there's still people who want to believe that this administration is not as guilty or as a part of those files as we already know that they are. There are people who are blinded by him, and they vote the way he tells them to. Excuse me, sorry about that. And they ignore that he cheats, and he's actually just covering up for all his friends, and he's been bought and paid for by another country. That is just clearly obvious to anybody paying a little bit of attention. So that's one layer of weirdness. Then the next layer of weirdness is the deep state. These people who operate in the shadows of the government, and you don't really know what their agenda is. It has nothing to do with anything we've ever voted for. And they kind of move in these shadowy spaces and cut the government out. Like, there are things that people who work, including the president, who work in DC, and they have absolutely no idea what's going on, because the shadow government, and I believe it's real, it's not really difficult to see it. They've got their own agenda. That's one level of weirdness. Then you've got the elites, the people who just, the people you think are in charge. There's a layer of people over them, and you may have voted for some of these people, but they actually answer to this other level of people, who just are rich and think they know everything and want to control everybody. And they're the ones that really make the rules. I spent the weekend watching this show on Netflix. I want to say it's Homicide New Orleans, which was really interesting. And you would say, but you worked 7.5 years in a prosecutor's office. Why would you watch that for entertainment? Because I did work 7.5 years in a prosecutor's office, and it's the same. New Orleans, St. Louis, it's young black men murdering each other for absolutely no good reason. One of the cases was a female, and it was a boyfriend or whatever who killed her, and he seemed like a lunatic. I think he was on drugs or something, or he was completely mentally ill. And there was somebody who was a victim, and he was mentally ill, but he had guns. It's like, geez, and they kind of glossed over, like, he was a nice guy. But listen, I've known bipolar people very well. I've made it clear I had a bipolar sibling, and I'm going to tell you something. The last thing I would have wanted to see him have is a gun. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm watching the show and I'm thinking there really are two worlds of justice. Whoever's really in control, the shadow government, the elites, the people who are operating the puppet strings of the president, and every president has these puppet strings. You can just see Trump's. You can see it more clearly than ever. But who is ever really in charge of the legal system? There's two systems, because someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who is, obviously doing all this horrible, unimaginably sinister shit, he gets this sweetheart of a deal and is able to then go out after 2008 and just go back to his life. He was in some sort of sweetheart deal in prison when they finally did. I think he was in jail, I think awaiting trial or something, and he got to come and go. He got to come and go from the jail during the day. Like, he had this crazy deal that nobody would get, and then there's a woman who got in trouble recently for talking about how Ghislaine Maxwell was being treated in prison. She was given special favors and getting special food and was able to have guest accommodations and all kinds of shit. Like, there are two worlds going on. And when you watch a show like Homicide New Orleans or Deal with What I Saw, this system is completely fine with locking up non-rich people and throwing away the key. They're just fine with the prison system being jam-packed full of murderers. What they're not fine with are locking up people who are committing crimes, but for some reason they have special favor and they get treated differently. And on the surface, you want to say it's racial, but there's plenty of poor white people in jail. Don't sleep on that. They don't like to talk about it and they don't want you to know about it, but there are plenty of white people who go to prison. Are black people disproportionately larger? Yes. 3 strikes and all of that? Yes. You get caught with some weed. There are so many people in prison now over weed. And now that it's legalized, it's like, this is ridiculous. And that was fine, because that was basically the new slavery system. But there's 2 justice systems, and one of them is working great. It's locking up all the low level, and not low level, their crimes are horrible. There are some really bad people out here, but just because they're in prison, that doesn't mean they're worse than any other killer, because there are other killers out here and they just seem to walk free. And, say what you want about these rich people who are able to mount a defense. That's not what I'm talking about. Yes, there have been people who've gotten away with things, or we think they got away with things because they were wealthy. But this is different. I'm talking about people who don't even have problems with the law, even though they're doing illegal things all day long. There's no person who is using their brain that would think Jeffrey Epstein was anything but a criminal. And I think he was silenced because I don't know, he must have talked out of turn or did something out of turn, and they killed him or pretended to kill him, because he very well may not even be dead. So, I don't know who's really in charge, but I feel like I've said this for the last several years. If you're not using your discernment, you are in trouble. You cannot believe everything that people are saying to you, especially now with AI. It's going to be really nuts. You won't know what's real except how you feel about it. How your feelings cannot be generated by AI. So how you feel is going to inform a whole bunch of your processes and reactions. But you got to be able to know, what you're looking at and discern it for yourself. And that's going to be very important. I think the keys to surviving this right now, this crazy season, is discipline and discernment. You got to be able to hold yourself to a higher standard. You cannot be triggered easily, and you cannot believe everything you see. And, I'm not in the business of giving advice, but if somebody were to ask me what I would do, that's what I would do. Because it's going to get a lot stickier before it gets better, because, you got people out here who just really don't seem to understand what's really going on. They don't seem to comprehend that. You got all this insider trading. You got all these Congress people who've made tons of money doing what you and I would go to prison doing without question. They even locked Martha Stewart up for insider trading. What would they do to us? But Nancy Pelosi and her name sticks out the most to me, but they all do it. And there's this website that tracks all of their trades and how much they've made. And it's like, dude, you're sitting on committees getting information, and then you go and invest, thousands of dollars based off of the committees you've been sitting on. That is horrific. She's made $200 million, something crazy, since 2018. And it's like, people don't have any character. People don't have any values. So it's like, you get rid of the character people. You spend $30 million to get rid of Thomas Massie. And see, the difference between him and Cori Bush is people didn't think Cori Bush, even though she didn't take AIPAC money, she was aligned with other groups that made people uncomfortable, and people didn't find her to be all that articulate or interesting, or because she got into a lot of little gray areas. And I don't think she's going to beat her opponent in the fall. I think he's going to retain his seat, but he's ineffective and a puppet. He got bought off by AIPAC. There's no way he's getting ready to stand up and do the right thing. He wouldn't do that anyway. He just is not that kind of guy. So we are in for some interesting times. And I think before it gets better, almost all of it will have to collapse. I'm also simultaneously watching Rome on Netflix. And, this lust for power and men thinking they know everything and attaining things through brute strength is a pretty old narrative. But the problem is the world has changed. And I know the basics are still there. People still want to be in control. They still want power. They still want to tell other people what to do because they feel like they somehow know better than everybody else. But the reality is the world has changed and people are different. And if women united and decided to move as a force, that would be amazing. If people stop trying to siphon themselves off into their little group, and everybody decided to mobilize and act as us versus them, this one big group versus this tiny group of assholes, I think we could affect a mighty, to quote Soul Food, we could strike a mighty blow. You know what I mean? It would be amazing. But that's why they keep us divided and conquered, because we're brainwashed and we're taught to not trust each other. I worked for a master manipulator. He siloed people. He would feed information to people to tell folks like, oh, don't trust anybody. They don't trust me, so don't you trust them. And that was his modus operandi. And he paid his inexperienced people that he brought with him way more money than the people who had been there already working the job. And he just created chaos and made it awful and destroyed what was a highly functioning, great office. And I've seen this movie in person, and a lot of what's going on now is the same thing. They just brainwash you into thinking, well, you can't trust them. They're not on your side. They're not good people. Why would you all try to team up? You all know you can't team up together and do anything. And it's all just a psyop because they don't want us to get smart and be like, hey, y'all have stolen all of our money and sent our tax dollars everywhere but here. You haven't invested in anything in America. Infrastructure is falling apart. The grid needs some love. America has been prostituted to its end. And it, of course, will always go on because it existed. But it is the abused children we're talking about. We're one of the youngest countries. We got all that power. And people who appear to love America didn't really love America. They just loved themselves, and they pimped and have prosecution on the brain. They pimped and prostituted America. That's really what happened. And they should be prosecuted. So I guess I'm not really having a Freudian slip. I really think a lot of these people should be facing prosecutors. But those people the hardworking, real prosecutors work at a level they can't even sniff these criminals that I'm talking about. Nobody would even bring charges against these criminals that I'm talking about. They have infiltrated at every level. They're perfectly fine to prosecute I keep going to call them low level. They're not low level, but they are the lower tier of society. That's us. We're the lower tier. Even if you make $400,000 a year, you on the lower tier. They're not interested in your success. They don't care what happens to you. And if you commit a crime, you're going to jail. But this upper group of people I'm talking about, they wake up criminally minded, doing horrible things, atrocities, and they won't even sniff a jail cell. That's how corrupt we are as a country. And that's where we need to start to focus and pray. And I have amended my prayer. I don't just say deliver us from evil. I say stop evil in its tracks today, God. Rid us of evil however you can today, God. If that means opening up the earth and sucking evil out, I'm more than okay with that. So anyway, that's what I got for you on this Tuesday. What are we at? May 26th. Listen, guys, the month is over. May is in the books. So go ahead and get yourself set up for June. You've got goals, you've got dreams. We're halfway through this very interesting year, and you can't get distracted. Don't get distracted. There's things you wanted to do. I created the app Daily Drill just for that. Sign up, log in, get to stacking your habits, build something daily. It's not what you do once that makes an impact in your life. It's what you do on a regular basis. And that's what Daily Drill is about. Habit stacking, being effective, hitting targets, reaching goals. I believe that's what makes success versus non-success. If you keep chasing your tail and you find yourself not evolving, it's probably because you haven't set goals and you haven't been clear about it. It's dailydrill.io. Check it out. Link in the description. Take care. Really, really protect your mind, your body, and your spirit. We are in this together, and we're going to win together. Promise. Take care. Bye.